Hey, it's DBJ, and I promised to do a product review, and I have to preface this with something. First, let me say that I received this book from Raging Swan Press, the PDF, I apologize, the PDF from Raging Swan Press for free. So I have to state that up front. I did not pay for this. Thanks, LC, for suggesting that I contact them and to do a review of the GM Miscellany Dungeon Dressing book. I'll say this book made me delete like 6 or 7 videos and about, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 video threads I was going to start. It literally made me delete them out because they were just useless. This book, the PDF is from Raging Swan Press, and they had an offer to say, hey, take a look at the book. We'll give you the book, but just give us your honest assessment of the book. And I was like, okay, kind of a little pressure there because I'm not really the type to, I mean, my opinion is like, well, be careful because I'm going to give you my honest opinion about it. If I don't really like it, dude, you're kind of risking, you're risking a lot. Well, I've done a series of videos on the Wizards of the Coast Dungeon Master's Guide, right? And picking bits and pieces of the Dungeon Master's Guide and what people like and dislike about 5th edition, etc., etc. Now, Raging Swan's products are primarily Pathfinder, but Pathfinder Light. This PDF is 339 pages. Now, normally page count, you go, well, hell, you can make 1,000 pages, and if only 2 of those pages are good, then, it's a waste of time. It's true. But this book is 339 pages of nothing but what I consider some of the most intrinsic, basic, most detailed information about dungeon building I've ever seen. Now, you might say to yourself, like, especially if you're like me, and I know I am, that as you start building dungeons, you're like, look, I don't need a random table to tell me what's where. I don't need anybody to tell me what kind of, animals are going to be there, what kind of creatures, because I know what's going to be in my mind. That's true, but I've been role-playing for like 30 plus years now, right? And there's nothing worse than player characters who go into it, you've already said this is pretty much an empty room in an old keep. You had no intention of the player character sticking around this empty room. Just get to the other door, bust the door open, keep going through the adventure, and the player characters invariably go, I look around. So now you're stuck, and you're sitting here like, oh, okay, there's dust in the corners, there's an old bucket, I don't know, there's a skeletal hand, you find some old parchment or paper. And then the player characters are, oh, there's a skeletal hand, oh, let me take a look at it, blah, blah, blah. And you've opened up this can of worms, and you're like, man, I didn't even think about what was going to be here. Well, what the dungeon dressing book, GM Miscellany dungeon dressing book by Raging Swan has done is they have these D100 tables and they've done everything for you. So, for example, they come upon a door. They have nothing but a chapter based on door construction, door locks, door materials, what's special about the door, what additional items are attached to the door. So you can have a locked door, a set of double doors, doors made of wood with iron, a set of copper doors, magical doors, doors with traps on it. What kind of traps do they have? Using a D100 table. Is there a severed skeletal hand attached to the doorknob? Ooh, that's going to make the player characters hesitate. Well, why would someone's hand be severed and attached to it? There's scraps of cloth. It looks like a demon's head door. There's they have it for bridges and rooms. One of my favorite tables in that book is a D100 table based on the random objects you find in a goblin's pockets. That's just like, wow, a half-eaten severed finger, a small dung beetle in a bottle or something, like all kinds of strange little trinkets and things. It's like a trinkets table specifically for goblins, if you're using 5th edition. Does this book port over between like Pathfinder, 3.5, 5th edition? Hell yeah. Frankly, the book, if you're going to run a medieval game, use the book. It is the gaming statistics in it are very light. There's a few things where it might go, there is something hidden under a cloth in the room, make a DC 14 check. If you're playing in a different game that uses a different gaming system, you go, well, that's a medium check, hey, roll a 3 or above, or something like that if you're using a completely different dice mechanic. It's not a big deal. It's not a book filled with gaming statistics, but every page is filled with so much spark. When I see a randomized table, and the Dungeon Master's Guide for 5th edition has, the back end of it has a randomized table to create your own dungeon. And throughout the book there are random tables to describe magic items, random tables to describe things on the outer planes, to describe the motivations of bad guys, and things like that. And a lot of game masters and world builders don't like random tables. They're like, I want to pick and choose. What I love about random tables is reading through all the randomizations. 5th edition's trinkets table is like reading through those trinkets, and you're just like, wow, man, that creates such story spark. And so Raging Swan Press really impressed me with how much spark is in this. You can just read through as a game master, flip the book open and go, you know what, I wasn't even thinking about what's going to be in this next room. Page down, bam, that's what I picked. And it's not just rooms. When it says dungeon dressing, a lot of times we get the impression of underground dungeon, going through, perfectly 10-foot by 10-foot rooms and stuff like, it's not that. It is more of an environmental book where you can pick things that just are amazing. But that's not the only thing in the GM Miscellany book that I like. There's a whole huge chapter on puzzles and riddles, how to construct them, a whole laundry list of very many riddles and their answers to them. And you can have so much fun with that. I think the idea of like the player characters having to answer a riddle on a door, finding it on a piece of parchment, being confronted by a sphinx in your particular setting, and if you don't come up with the right answer, you're going to be attacked or cursed or something. I love that, and they have a whole chapter filled with. It's got to be a good, I'm going to say 15, 20 pages of nothing but riddles and puzzles, and I love that. That's worth the price of admission itself. I'm trying to remember if I can remember how much the book actually costs. And I believe, I know I'm going to be wrong on this because the price is probably going to change since I saw it. I believe the PDF is like $20. And the GM Miscellany book is made up of it's a bundle, so it's made up of a large number of these randomized chapters all put together. So with 339 pages of dense information. It is of itself a dungeon master's guide. This is a bold statement, but I would say that I would trade the Dungeon Master's Guide for this Raging Swan book only because I've gamed so long that I feel like it's the tiny details that I need help on more than the larger scope. Creating a game world, creating outer planes, creating motivations for my bad guys is something that I take to heart. I don't really need a book to tell me that, but it's the small things. What's in someone's pockets? What is a door made out of? What's in the next room? And then those things spark me to get bigger stories. So it's the small things that spark for the bigger stories, and that's why I really appreciate it. Lastly, in the book, the very last chapters of the book are called the Dungeon Horde. And the Dungeon Horde is not just a randomized table of magic items and gold. You could always roll dice for that. But the Dungeon Horde is divided by level, and then on each of those levels, level 1 through like level 20, and then it gives you a randomized table, and it gives you a specific hoard of treasure that you roll down to how many coins, what kind of treasure is there, a description of what the treasure is, and can give you such background. So you can roll on the treasure hoard for like second level, and it'll say 38 gold pieces, 15 silver, 127 copper, and then it'll say an onyx ring inlaid with this, and on the inside is engraved blank, a small statuette with a gem, like shaped like a cyclops with a gem for its eye, and it is this heavy. It gives you a lot of detail in the treasure hoard, so you don't have to come up with these ideas. And again, I love spark. I love ideas that are created from very simple things. Someone says you find a magic ring. To me, a magic ring is boring. If you tell me you pick up a ring inlaid with onyx, and on the inside is engraved the word Excelsior. When you place the ring on your finger, you are infused with an energy, a vitality. That, to me, is far better than you pick up a magic ring of protection +2. Far more interesting. It creates more stories. Who engraved it? Why was that word engraved? Do you have to say the magic word? Is it a magic word? Why is there an onyx on it? If I see someone else with this ring, is there some kind of connection? Are they connected to me? Who did it? Why is it in here in the first place? Why wasn't the bad guy wearing it? And, all of these things. Okay? So anyway, I cannot give higher praise to Raging Swan's book, GM Miscellany Dungeon Dressing, than to say that I compare it to, it is worth the price of admission. I believe the print-on-demand book might be like $40 to $50, and this is me speaking off the top of my head. Do not quote me on that price. Go to Drive-Thru RPG, take a look at the book, take a look online, look at all the reviews. Raging Swan Press, I got to admit, I'm very impressed with it. I'm going to definitely use it. I'm not sure when. I'll probably end up using it with the Fate system and run a Fate Pathfinder D&D game in the far future. Not certain yet. But I absolutely love it. I may do 5th edition because so many people are playing 5th edition. I'm still going back and forth. But that PDF has given me so much fuel, so much spark, so much flavor that I'm mightily impressed. Especially being able to use like D100 tables. That's crazy. Okay, maybe there's not 100 choices. I believe most of the choices range into the 40 to 60 range choices. And that is a lot of information. And when you start combining that with doors, bridges, roads, rooms, clothing, artwork, written passages, riddles, and all those things, there's a near, I would hesitate to do the math on how many different variations you can come up with. So if I'm doing this with a 5-star rating, I would have to give it a 5-star rating. I believe the full price of admission is worth it. And I will admit that after taking a look at it, I'm very interested in buying other Raging Swan products. And I may do some other product reviews. I'm not really a product review person, just because I'm opinionated about things. So if you trust my opinion in any way, just know I've been role-playing for like 30 plus years. I love story elements. I love descriptions. I don't want a cloak of flying. I want someone to describe what it looks like. I want to describe how it operates, for good or bad. If it is a ring, a magic ring, let me know. Do you have to twist the ring to get it to operate? Do you have to say the magic word? Does it glow when it's being used? Is it like the One Ring? Does it draw evil to it? Does my hand go numb when I use it too long? Things like that. I love descriptive elements that add further story. Anything that moves the story forward, to me, is a great benefit. And I have to say, for 339 pages, this damn thing is a tome. I can't imagine what the book looks like when it's print on demand. Wow, I'm just really impressed. So anyway, it's DBJ doing my particular product review of the Raging Swan Press book, GM Miscellany Dungeon Dressings. I think it's a clunky word for a really great book, so I hope people will take a look at it. And thank you again, LC, for drawing me to the attention to this book. Again, I have to say, for full disclosure at the end of this video, that the book I did not pay for this. The simple fact that I didn't pay for it, to me, makes me feel like I deserve to spread its value so that others will, because I think it's that valuable of a book. I would absolutely put this book next to the Dungeon Master's Guide in terms of necessary books to have if you are a person that creates setting. If you're a game master, Dungeon Master's Guide, Player's Handbook, Monster Manual, and this book. You'll never go wrong. You could create a dungeon off the fly. Your player characters ask you what's in the damn chest. You flip the page open. This is what's in the chest. From that point, you create even further stories. Oh, you find a signet ring from the king of so-and-so. And it just creates so much more information. And so much more to grow and to create. Especially when the player characters write that stuff down on their player character sheets. There's nothing better as a game master when you describe something and people are just pulling out their ink pen and they're just like, what does it look like again? You know what I mean? So that feels good, and this book does nothing but give you that. So anyway, DBJ, as always, create, don't destroy. This book does nothing but create. Thank you very much, and thank you for your attention.